Hi, I'm Todd Lauchlan. I'm the Managing Director and the Head of Capital Markets for the JLL New Zealand business. I'm here today to talk about the Midtown revival. Thank you, Viv. Thank you, Simon.
Great to be on. Genuinely, it's a very exciting topic. It's just great to see what's happening in Midtown.
Well, I think after what Midtown's been through, it's pretty exciting to be at this point.
Yeah, nice to have a positive story to tell, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a huge story.
It is a great story, and obviously the team have put together this great white paper. It talks about $10 billion of projects that have either been completed very recently or about to be completed in that Midtown area, if you include, I guess, all of the things that are happening. We've obviously lots of press announcements, but maybe I want to step back a little bit, Simon, and just get your sense for how things are going across Auckland.
Yeah, sure. I think firstly, it's been a tough few years, right? And for those who are listening from out of town, I don't think it's modest to say in New Zealand terms, 5.3 million people, 1.85 million of those are in Auckland. So Auckland's exceptional. It's size, it's where commerce is. It's the most international city. It's the most multicultural by a very long way. So there's that. But it's had a tough few years, COVID, a sluggish economy. But there's definitely a sense, and it's not just me saying this, it's many surveys backing it up, I would say realistic optimism. The numbers are starting to look better. I can tell you, for example, in the Auckland Business Chamber Business Confidence Survey, we do them quarterly. First one out this year. Just on every measure, really quite a lot higher than anything we've seen in my 3 or 4 years.
Confidence that you're translating into profitability. Are you saying?
It's variable. I think that's why I say realistic optimism, right? But what that tells you is businesses are starting to see it. We're not there yet, and they can see where it's going to come from. Is what I say. We're not out of the woods. Inflation's a bit higher than possibly you want. That creates an issue, of course, around the OCR. Unemployment's a bit high at 5.4, actually in Auckland, it's 6.4. But, just more optimism, some numbers on a bunch of metrics that look a bit better than they have, and give me a sense that month on month, it's getting better.
And Viv, you're obviously in the heart of the city, in the sense of it, literally, and your job obviously was all about that. Not easy. I think you could probably reflect what Simon's been saying, but it feels to me like people are back.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously there's been a moving target around when some of these key anchor developments are going to be open, but we've been working towards 26 for some time now. And as we go into it, the vibe has changed. We know there is an uptick in foot traffic now. We're not back to where we were, but it is growing again. The perceptions are more positive. We've got a great vibe out there, and there's a lot more people. So the cruise ships, the tourists, international students are back to their pre-COVID levels. And I think generally people are feeling a lot better. So we're not quite through it for some people in the particular area we're talking about. It's been a tough decade, to be honest, for many. However, we're pretty pleased the way 26 is starting. It hasn't, to pick up Simon's point, it's not translating yet into spending, actually, and that's variable depending on who you talk to. But the reality is across the board, spending is still down, but their mood is up. And I think there is realistic optimism.
You touched on the students, and I think that's a very exciting, move. It feels to me that New Zealand's a great place to educate Aucklanders, fantastic universities here, other educations, institutions. What are you sort of seeing in terms of people wanting to live in the city as well? I guess we've gone through the last 20 years and more people wanting to live in town. Are you seeing more people living in the city?
Well, not yet. I think when I moved, I live in the central city, and when I moved here, we reflected on the fact that it had gone from about 1,500, some years ago, 30 years ago, to sort of 38,000.
Wow.
So there's been a huge growth, and there's an aspiration to get to about 100,000, which is actually realistic, I think, when you think about the population growth projected for Auckland generally. But the reality is it has been, like everything, been affected by recent years. However, it's a massive opportunity, and it's one of the sort of drivers of demand that would make a big difference here to have more people living. So we're very keen to see some of these conversions, mixed use. We'll come on to that in a minute, but it's definitely an opportunity.
And I think that's what we're seeing around town, is that there are projects coming out of the ground. So I think, the big ones are obviously, the South Rail not yet open, but there's been $5.5 billion of money spent between the Auckland Super City and the government on that project. Simon, I know that you were heavily involved in the original conversations around that. What do you sort of see as the output of, I guess, the return on investment for that?
Oh, that's very significant. I mean, just come back to points. I mean, firstly, just factor in and think about where's Auckland? Is it sort of back yet? I mean, some other factors at a macro level. I mean, farming kind of hasn't gone this well since 1950 at a level. The rest of New Zealand, generalising YouTube, it's back. South Island, Canterbury, feeling incredibly good. Those fundamentals mean it's got to be coming here, right? And it's
what's good.
Finally, look at it again.
Yeah.
When you look at those primary export numbers, when you look at the official cash rate and what's happening there, it's got to sort of hit us. Then we add in your point, the supply factors, right? CRL is probably the biggest and most exciting of that. By definition, is the biggest, I think, infrastructure project we've ever seen on the numbers. It's amazing in two regards. Firstly, in a transport sense, it's transformational. Someone told me, I haven't fact-checked this, so I don't edit it out though. It's because it sounds good. It's the equivalent of 16 new highway lanes, right, that we are adding around Auckland. And so just the ability to get around is as I say, transformative. And then, of course, there's just the, whatever you want to call it, but the urban development, the possibilities from that. We probably haven't thought enough about them collectively, government, council, private sector, even a few years back when maybe we should have, but it'll come. And I think, at its heart, what does that mean? I think it means Auckland is feeling like their city has got a bit of that London, a bit of that New York, a bit of that Sydney going on. I was with Chris Bishop, Minister of Transport. He's saying, maybe we overspec those sort of secular cathedrals underground and we spend a bit much on them. I've been down them. I mean, they're impressive. It does feel like you're actually better than London, frankly, because they're new and shiny at this point in time. So that's exciting. But and this report shows it's not that. It's literally 20-something other great builds going on that together mean we're ready for the growth. Then we add in, while I'm on a roll, but, the demand factors. You've both talked about them, but it's tourism, it's students, it's city living. The other one, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'm really excited about it, and I can be quite pessimistic when I want to be. And that's what's happening in terms of high net worth investors coming here, out of Asia, out of North America, and we might talk about that more. But that to me says the next few years, they sort of have to be really good for Auckland, certainly much better than a reasonably sluggish sort of period that we've been through.
Yeah, and Viv, you mentioned before, and I wanted to pick up before our podcast around, I guess, the coming together of all these investment projects and how it all, I guess, shapes the city and give us that connectivity that we probably haven't had before.
Yeah.
Pedestrian, bike, rail, ferry, all of those obviously vehicles coming into town. That feels like that's starting to really take shape.
Absolutely. And I think the convention centre, as I say, is one of the key anchors, but it's not the only one, but it's very visible. And it will have a massive impact. Obviously, growth in the events, business events is significant, and they're bringing a new sort of size configuration to the market, so we're expecting to see growth. But then you go across the road to something like the Formery. What a phenomenal development.
Yeah, quite
They've brought a new model to the market through COVID. That's incredible.
And the clients love it, don't they?
Absolutely. And as it's just beautifully positioned there right by the station, you think about the potential around there for what all those people are going to need. Yeah. You walk around that university area and you look at some of that new accommodation and the proximity. That's a massive demand driver.
Absolutely.
And you start to top a couple on top of that, growth of residents. Well, we will see it. It's just been a challenging period, but we will see it take off. It was, as I say, it was growing before COVID. It was levelled out, but it will take off. So you start to imagine an area there where all of these things are happening, and I don't think people have quite realised what difference that station there will make, actually, because it opens up a whole lot of, it's not just a node, it's actually a key point that people will be able to come to. They'll be able to work, live, easily get around. It is a really major opportunity.
What we're seeing, and just to pick up that point, is a number of the clients that were previously located in the suburbs, in the suburban locations office market, now wanting to come into the city.
Yeah, we're hearing that.
So a couple of major clients of ours looking to make the investment into town and be part of that journey. And I think, private sector will vote with its feet, right, around the investment. And I think, Simon, we talked about, I guess, on that theme of investment and capital, a big investment coming from a big Singaporean group that we're involved in last year. It's an Intercontinental Hotel, which was developed by Precinct as part of that major commercial bay development. Done a fantastic job down there. I think we can all agree. Yeah. They've solved the hotel, and you think you've had a reasonably interesting kind of interaction with them recently.
Absolutely, really exciting. But it's a bit like the point we already made. I mean, if it was just the CRL or just the International Convention Centre, those things alone would be exciting. If it was just Singaporeans coming to town, we have billionaires wanting to invest, that in itself be exciting, but it's so much more than that, right? The numbers tell a story, but before I get to that, I mean, my view, which I think the numbers back up, is, we are in for this I don't want to say golden period, but much better period. Just think about where the world's at. I mean, as we record this, all over the world, there's war, there's conflict, there's uncertainty. I mean, New Zealand's in Auckland's is the biggest city, is the primate city, as some say. Key disadvantage is we're being kind of, wrong word maybe, but irrelevant, right? Sure. We're down the bottom of the world.
Well, that's that last bus stop with the way to Antarctica.
Exactly.
Did someone use that?
It sounds like a David Long year or something. but think about it from
It's a very niche reference, mate.
Someone will have to fact check that as well. What is
that was John Key, actually.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah.
What then today is our massive kind of unintended, if you like, but strategic advantage? Well, actually, we're at the bottom of the world. We are a safe haven. Right?
Absolutely.
We're first world. We speak English. We're still prosperous. We have some great sectors, whether it's primary production, tourism, the tech sector or sectors. So I just stand back and say you get the settings right, you get the supply side stuff right, the demand factors, and then if you take this investor space, we've mentioned Singapore, a lot of other Asians coming to town. I mean, I can tell you without a word of a lie, as we record this in March, every week this year, I've had a high net worth American come and see me. I don't know how they get hold of me. I think they're meeting with people who can't think what to do with them. They say, go see Simon Bridges. And like the sucker I am, I meet up they're really excited about New Zealand. They want to do something. So they're coming from all over the world. And think about this, Eric Stanford put out a release, I think sometime in February. The numbers don't lie. 2-3 years, the last 2 or 3 years, we saw something like 70 million come in from high net worths under the kind of high net migrant category that there was. Well, already unchanged of settings from the beginning of last year, announced at the Auckland Business Chamber, I might add. We've got $3.3 billion committed from several hundred, right?
And the multiplier effect is massive.
And it's not going to stop there, right? So that is literally billions coming in. These people, to use your phrase, are voting with their feet. They're going to want to be in the foundries. They're going to want to be in the Bledisloe houses, staying at the Radisson Reds, you name it. So I'm pretty, from a period of some pessimism, I've talked about optimistic realism, I am relatively bullish for sort of 27, 28, 29 and beyond.
Yep.
I think there is still a bit of a transition from where we've been. I mean, I think Simon and I, we've talked about this several times. We see it going up, but not stellar, more steady growth, but massive opportunity ahead. Well, just talking about hotels, if you think about that Midtown area, there's a Radisson Reds just open.
Sure.
Doubletree by Hilton. All of there's a significant investment in all of the key threads that are going to drive demand. The service sector opportunity, because that's the thing that's kept the GDP growth. Yeah. It's dropped back significantly in recent years, but it's still ahead of the rest of New Zealand. So that's driven by the agglomeration factor. I think we are starting to see more people back at work.
Sure.
And the models around that investment in Wakefield, Victoria, in the Midtown area is really flexible models. So that's actually recognising that things are changing. However, there is benefit in having people back, having that community, that event space. So that's a pretty exciting development as well. You know, there was a time where people think, oh, well, they won't come back here. We are actually seeing them come back, which is great.
Yeah, it's great to hear. So, just in our world, we're seeing the very best of the office space market being extremely tightly held.
Yeah.
So if you think of where we are at the moment, our building is completely full. The building next door is completely full. Rents are going up, and obviously as an occupier, that's an issue. But as an Aucklander, as an Aucklander service provider, we want to see investment, and for that to happen, you need to see quality new projects coming out of the ground. And I know this paper is about Wynyard, but we are seeing a lot of other opportunities for investors to come in, on the fringes of Auckland as well. We've got Keppel, which is a big Singaporean investor investing with Precinct on a student accommodation asset. We've also got another project on Queen Street, which we're looking for a capital partner in Hong Kong and Singapore next week to discuss that.
Yes.
And the feedback we've had from the investors, hit rate for meetings is 80%.
Why do you think that is, Davis?
I think for all the reasons he talked about, and also I think we're starting to see the bigger Australian eastern coast cities, Sydney and particularly Brisbane, are really expensive.
Yeah, I think that's right. I always say, and it's a cute line, but I think it happens to be true, which is always good. And that is that, if Auckland was a stock, New Zealand fundamentally was a stock, undervalued right now.
It's a good time to buy.
It's a good time to buy.
Yeah.
You see it even in the residential apartment figures. I think it's something like 11.5% down on pre-COVID, but what an opportunity for people, because this is really ripe for intensification. I know that's the intent. But when you think about the secondary accommodation and the successful conversions that are happening already, it just shows that the potential to really speed that up and get those mixed use conversions happening, getting more people living here, recognising the benefit of being close to work.
Definitely.
That's the sort of thing I think we're going to start seeing more of.
To bring some realism to it really is, we've talked about some of them said as issues, antisocial behaviour, some criminality, some of these things. It reality is, on the government apologist level, they have slowly, people would argue, if it got on top of those things, you've seen them
turn on that.
Correct. Viv deserves a lot of credit for, going at some of these things. We've seen a bunch of announcements, a move on orders, police powers and so on. That's slowly but surely getting on top of that. I mean, I think for a lot of people listening, maybe if they're in Australia, if they're in other parts of the world, we can get negative news sales. You can get these stories about Kiwi exodus and so on. But the other side of it, as I say, is the Asians, the Europeans, the North Americans I'm talking to every week who come here, they can't believe their luck. They feel like they are in this undervalued stock, that it's going to go well. They want to get out of, and I'm not making a comment myself on this, but, Trump's America or, a malaise in Europe, more uncertainty in Asia. So I feel very...
even just the lifestyle. Let's just face it. Life's clean, green.
Outstanding restaurants,
Beautiful.
outstanding amenity.
Yeah.
I want to just touch on a project that's close to, I guess, our heart as a business, and what I think is a really important project for Auckland Smith & Co.
Yep.
So we're taking that to market very soon. 140 years of history.
Great icon.
Iconic property. Fantastic location. And I think, see your point around sort of putting the jigsaw puzzle together, it feels like a really important piece.
Can I just preface it by saying Queen Street will remain a very important part of Central City. Sure. We have got to fund it all along. We have supported the transformation here and the vision. The execution has been challenging for some of the people we're
not hiding from that, are we?
No, but the point is Queen Street will remain very important. We know it's had some challenges and Simon's touched on it, but we are seeing the changes we've really needed to push for. I just actually have come from a meeting with some international investors, and I've been meeting with them reasonably regularly for a while now, and they are noticing the change. They're investing in Queen Street, and that's exciting that they're actually saying to me they're seeing the difference. We know we've got a wee way to go, but it's definitely improving. And we're also, it's quite interesting because we've had such a great response to the recent, I'll come to Smith & Co. The positivity of the investment news. The Queen's Arcade is arrested. That's gone really well. People are going, fantastic. That's a heritage arcade. They're excited and positive about it. Faraday's is an exciting one.
Sure.
Yeah. You know,
I just come into Mr. Crooks this morning, actually.
Yeah.
He always wanted to tell me all about it.
Yeah. So that's exciting. We've got Cartier coming. We've got other investments not yet announced. But the reality is, it is changing. And when you think about that Smith & Co. side, I mean, it's beautiful, heritage, iconic, all of the above, but its location is fantastic.
Sure.
Location.
Absolutely. And I think...
No, you go.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm not sure. I mean, clearly the investors here are recognising the potential, and it's harder for some of the street trading people until they see change, probably, if they haven't got such pockets. But the reality is you can actually see, the Casa Victoria's opening today, which is somebody from a business that unfortunately closed. But that's looking...
It's kind of distraction in some ways, isn't it? You get reposition opportunities.
We are seeing that sort of... reinvigoration of the area, and the Smith & Co. building is optimally located for something significant.
And the Smith & Co., what a grand old lady, if I can say that, what an icon. But the point you made, I just reinforce this background to it. I mean, Queen Street, Midtown, it's an overused word, but they are iconic, right? I mean, if we had a monopoly board in New Zealand, they would be the number one kind of assets.
Mayfair and Park Lane.
They are still Mayfair and Park Lane. The bones are exceptional. I always say this to people. I mean, I love the fact that, as this report highlights, there's so much new that's going on. But the reality is the actual fundamental bones that are there, pretty good, I think, personally.
And the town hall and the arts precinct.
St. James.
Yeah.
And I just, but I don't want to get too kind of sentimental. But I'm
start tearing up.
I know you'll find it's hard to believe. I turned 50 this year. And
good day before you're 90.
And when I think about my teenage years and seminal days of first dates and these sort of things,
here we go.
It was all in Midtown, right? As a young Westie coming in, whether it was Mid City and the movies there, or the pool halls, probably. Where did you go? And that I think is still, a part of the fabric of what this part of town that you're talking about in Queen Street has very much got, not just in an Auckland sense, actually in a New Zealand sense. I've wowed you with that.
You have.
Bamboozled, baby.
No, absolutely. No, I think we're all passionate about it, aren't we? And I think, we've all taken a few punches as a city and as sort of passionate members of the community here. And I'm excited about what's happening. I guess just to maybe wrap things up, and I'm conscious that, we don't want to bore people too much to death with our sentimentality in it, but maybe just give us a bit of jump yourself forward to 2030. 4 years ahead, when all of these projects that we've talked about are open, you really start to see things, I think, go to the next level for Auckland. Can you just paint a bit of a picture for us? Because I think sometimes it's hard for us to really, I guess, vision the future when you're stuck in the day.
Yeah. Well, I see a lot more people, because that's been one of the sort of things that the people have cut down through this difficult period. A lot more people. People living close, a little bit more of the vibe that I found when we came here. It just felt lively and actually better than that, because there'll be a lot more investment around. Well, actually, there's also investment in other areas. Today we're talking about Midtown. There's obviously a lot of other. Think about Queen Street, Midtown. I see lots of people. I see a really vibrant arts and cultural scene. Really interesting retail, entertainment, hospitality in that area, because that's going to change, obviously, because with more people living in that area and the student life, I can see sort of different aspects to Queen Street that will be different but lively and vibrant. So I actually look ahead to that time with a lot of positivity and see a very vibrant place with a lot more people.
And the big events, son? I mean, I know
that's the part where just today is very important. Full disclosure, I'm chair of Eden Park, and we as we sit here about to announce a big concert for a bit later in the year, so you can watch that space. Events are really critical. Actually, we won't get into blame and shame and criticism, but we haven't done a good enough job of that in recent times. But the government has got a $50-odd million fund there. You're going to see in 27, it's a bit late now for this year to do a heat, right? But I can tell you, whether it's Nick Saunders or Eden Park or whether it's Juco events or a bunch of others, that they are out there at 27, 28 will look very strong.
That's fantastic.
And that's really exciting. I mean, to your earlier question, I just think, cities, like economies, they've got cycles or rhythms. But you said not the sentimentality, nostalgia, but the reality is, go to the mid-2000s, I reckon objectively Auckland felt like a really first-class international city. It was at a high, whether it was America's Cups or just the buzz, it really felt great. It's had a few harder times, COVID, restricted policies, a bunch of stuff like that. But it's on its way back. You ask me, what does 2030 look like? I think it's back there, feeling like a buzzy, exciting international cities. I don't say that lightly. I think quite a bit about it. But if you see what's falling into place, CRL, convention centre, bring a lot more people in, major events back, the various projects you're talking about, some of the demand side stuff really sorting itself out, those international factors, you've got quite a compelling picture for 2030. I would be very surprised if in 2030 we're not sort of feeling with quite a different conversation. We'll probably be a bit smug. We'll probably be talking about, but I think it'll be looking really, really good. As I say, right now, if it's a stock, it's been high, it's come down a bit, but maybe it's a tech stock because there's been a tech buzz crash or something.
Not an AI crash.
Not an AI, it was overhyped, but AI overhyped, but I think it'll be back by 2030.
And the value investors are investing.
Correct.
Not it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Great to be on, and look, if property and investment doesn't work out, Todd, I think you've got a real career in media, YouTube, podcasting.
No.
And we should acknowledge the report.
We should.
Because you've actually brought all the threads that are going to get us to that point in 2030 together in a great report.
Yeah, and I think acknowledging Cristobal and the team. I'm the Ashton's obviously sitting over there as a marketing guy claiming all the credit, but Chris doing all the hard work, and he will be a guest on the podcast. A bit for next year's audience, but I appreciate both.
I mean, Ashton's been good. Like he's
been all right.
He's got
I don't want to
rock
rock him too much. And James. So, thank you both. Really appreciate your energy and effort and passion for the city, and we're looking forward to getting this launched very, very soon. Cheers.
All right. Thank you
Thanks.
very much.